A lot of people have said that I am MGTOW. A lot of people who don't know me very well or don't know my content very well, right? They've called me MGTOW. MGTOW, for those of you who don't know, means men going their own way. And it's basically a movement of men in the Western democracies that have decided to eschew a family life and trying to get a woman, and rather they live for themselves. Their motto is quite simply an off-ramp, and it's actually quite powerful. And as an ideology, as a set of ideals or a guiding principle, it's quite powerful and quite seductive, I would say, to a lot of young men. But I personally am not MGTOW. I'm sympathetic to MGTOW, most certainly. I think that a lot of their critiques of the Western democracies, of the way our current society is organized, are very much on point, very much so. And I think that to dismiss MGTOW altogether, to just, say, oh, they don't count, they don't matter, and whatever they say is just stupid, that's just ridiculous. Because so many of their critiques are on point as to how our current society has turned into, how can I put this, has turned men into their whipping boys. And it's a fair critique that MGTOW is making. So I am not unsympathetic. But the problem I have with MGTOW and a lot of proponents of MGTOW, well, how can I put it? Let's start, being more precise as to who I'm speaking about. Insofar as those who are adherents to MGTOW, young men or not so young men, who follow MGTOW and who think that, men going their own way is the appropriate way to go. I am extremely sympathetic because I understand from firsthand knowledge how alienating so much of Western society can be to a young man who is not the ideal standard insofar as our contemporary culture defines it. And so I recognize how a young man can feel incredibly alienated and think to himself that, you try, or rather I try so hard to get into the flow of the society, but they don't want me, so I might as well just turn my back on them. I am extremely sympathetic to those young men and not so young men. I'm extremely sympathetic and frankly, I'm filled with compassion and understanding for such men. But insofar as a lot of men who are cheerleaders of MGTOW, a lot of people on YouTube, for instance, a lot of MGTOW channels, a lot of people who proselytize MGTOW and want young men to join it and to be MGTOW, I look at them, quite frankly, as charlatans. Quite frankly. Because a lot of the men whom I have spoken to, who are proponents of MGTOW and try to convert young men to MGTOW, a lot of people who actually make a great deal of money off of MGTOW, a lot of men who are very virulent and very militant about MGTOW. A lot of them are full of shit, quite frankly. That's been my experience, direct experience. Let me give you an example. Back in 2017, I had a live stream with some MGTOW guy whose name I honestly have forgotten, but he had MGTOW in his name. And he was a guy who had a small channel at that time. I mean, it was much larger than mine at the time. At the time, I must have had, I don't know, maybe a couple of thousand subscribers, and this guy maybe had 10,000 or 15,000 subscribers. It doesn't really matter. The point is, see, I went on this live stream with this guy and started talking to him, and I realized that he was a hypocrite. Yeah, he was a stone cold hypocrite. The guy basically was living in Thailand and he ran his YouTube channel and did podcasts and whatnot. And he was milking his audience for a great deal of money and basically saying, yo, MGTOW, rah, 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 and stuff like that, which is perfectly fine. But it turned out that the guy was living in Thailand with his Thai wife and 2 or 3 kids. I quite forget if he had 2 or 3 kids, but he had several children. And he had this Thai wife, right? And he was advocating to young men to go MGTOW, that MGTOW was the only way. And yet he was living a completely hypocritical lifestyle. Yeah. And, I remember quite clearly that it was a very unpleasant conversation, because I realized, I sussed out in the live stream we were doing, that the guy was just, full of shit. He was full of shit. He was a hypocrite. But he was being a hypocrite in order to make money off of his audience. Now, let me be clear. I don't have a problem in trying to monetize a channel, quote unquote. I don't have a problem if somebody who has a large social media presence decides to sell merchandise or sell books or sell this, that, whatever he wants to his audience. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I'd be a hypocrite if I said that I have a problem with that, because I do it. But what I do have a problem, which I do think is hypocritical, is to be saying that people should do one thing while doing the complete opposite thing. The guy was saying that, you know, young men should go MGTOW and forget about women and having a family life, whereas he had a wife and a family life, and that was the life that he was living. What the fuck? And this is just one guy I talked to, okay? There are several other guys who peddle MGTOW ideology to young men, and you know, they are not living by their principles or their supposed principles, okay? I mean, in my own case, I am about pragmatism. That's what my channel is about. I'm pragmatic, and I try to understand the world as it is. And I try to help my audience, you, understand the world not with rose-tinted glasses, not through the lens of the propaganda of the mainstream media and the leadership classes. No, I try to show you how the world actually is. Warts and all, because I figure that it is better to see the world as it actually is and navigate the world as it actually is than to dream and live in a dreamland, right? Live in a dreamland and just sleepwalking through life and existence. I think that that's horrible. I mean, that's my ideology, if you want to put it in that way. You know, that's what I'm peddling. I'm peddling realism, pragmatism, right? I don't follow MGTOW because it seems to me that a lot of the people who peddle it, who advocate for MGTOW, are, you know, bullshitters. Yeah, they're just peddling something that they don't believe in because they see a captive market, and they see, more to the point, a very powerful market and a very desperate and lonely market. Because one of the things that's very true is that in this milieu of single guys of whatever age, there's a great deal of loneliness. And online thoughts, you know, these Instagram girls who flash their tits at their audience and try to get them to buy their naked pictures and what have you. Well, they're exploiting that market. But these MGTOW guys, these middle-aged farts like me, who peddle MGTOW, a lot of them, not all, but a lot of them, certainly most of the ones that I have met or interacted with, well, they're no different from these, you know, these online thoughts peddling nudie pictures. They're aiming for the same market. They're aiming for the same market, you. They're aiming for you as a market. You are their target demographic, and they are trying to get your money. And they are telling you something, an ideology that they do not necessarily believe in. But they figure that they tell you this ideology, they pander to you, and send you down a path that might be the wrong path. Let me explain. You see, I do believe that there are times in a young man's life, or in any age man's life, where going MGTOW is actually a smart decision. Yeah? Where you should go MGTOW. Where you should just go your own way and eschew the company of women and just focus on yourself. Focus on yourself, on your personal development, and the development of your business. Because there are certain times in your life where women are just a distraction. Because you are reaching a critical point in your life, in your career, in your business, where you have to be focused. And women, the lovely and wonderful distraction though they are, sometimes you just can't afford that distraction. Not when it's crunch time in your life. And so I do believe that there are times in your life when you should go MGTOW. When you should say, you know, I'm going to not bother with women and just deal with the hairy palm for the next 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, because I have my career, my business, my personal development. I'm a fat pig. I want to get in shape. My business is going down the tubes. I got to lift it up. I mean, whatever it is, I understand that perfectly, and I think it's a smart move to make. To just eschew the company of women altogether, focus on yourself, focus on your business, so that you get to the next stage of your life. And once you are in that next stage of your life, comfortably, securely, you feel confident and in control of your destiny, then, reevaluate MGTOW. Yeah, because I do not think that MGTOW should be a lifelong affair. I think, in point of fact, that it is unhealthy to go MGTOW for your entire life. Yeah, because if you go MGTOW for your entire life, you are denying yourself so many pleasures of life, so many pleasures and so many wonderful things in life. And I'm not talking merely, having sex with some woman, no matter how attractive the woman may be. No, I'm talking about the fact that with the right woman, you can make yourself a family. And you can make yourself a family, and you can make yourself children of your own. Yeah? And I can tell you from first-hand experience that there is nothing more lovely, more powerful, more earth-shaking than coming home from a workday, opening the door, and having some 4-year-old or some 6-year-old be absolutely thrilled to see you, genuinely thrilled, not thinking that you are important for their business, or that you're sexy, or that you're this or that or the other. No. They are happy to see you. And that is a powerful thing. It's an extraordinarily powerful and fulfilling thing. And to deny yourself that, and to go full-on MGTOW for your entire life, and eschew any kind of family life for the rest of the days that you are on this earth, I think that that's a misguided and foolish decision. I think it is a self-denial of one of the great joys of life. And that's what I think. And that's why I think that going MGTOW forever is the wrong decision. So you see where I'm at insofar as MGTOW is concerned. I mean, sometimes it's necessary in a man's life, and sometimes it just hurts you. Like all ideologies, like all forms of acting and behaving, okay? There is no one-size-fits-all for every day of your life. If there were, we'd all be applying it now, wouldn't we? But there isn't. See, because each day of your life is different. Each day of your life is different, and each day of your life brings with it different priorities, different emergencies that have to be fixed, problems that have to be solved, different intentions, interests, the different things that move us. The things that moved me as a boy of, say, 10 years old are things that I have no interest in now as a man of 50. I have interest today as a man of 51 that are radically different from when I was barely 48, and that was 3 years ago, just a few miserable percentage points of my life ago. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we change every day. And therefore, to apply an ideology for our entire lives is a disaster and will lead ultimately to unhappiness and ruin. Yeah, I think that what happens to me is that I think that the men who espouse MGTOW as a lifelong commitment are failing to adapt. That's the point. You see, because since we change every day, since our circumstances change every day around us, no matter how hard we try for that not to happen, circumstances around us change every day, and therefore we change every day. And sometimes these changes on a daily basis are incremental, imperceptible. Sometimes they are quantum changes that change our entire outlook on life and existence. But the point is, see, every day we are changing, and therefore every day we have to adapt. We have to adapt to our changing circumstances. And therefore sometimes MGTOW is an extremely attractive and beneficial option for a man in a specific set of circumstances. And sometimes MGTOW, in other circumstances, is a complete disaster for a young man. I understand the attractiveness of MGTOW because MGTOW is simple. MGTOW is basically saying, screw all of that, I'm not going to pay attention to anything else except me and my own thing. And that is extremely attractive because of the simplicity of it. You don't have to worry, you don't have to be juggling all these balls up in the air of all these different things that are going on in your life. You don't have to worry about that. No, you just worry about yourself and your own career or business. And that's it. And everything else, screw it. It can go to hell, right? That simplicity has undeniable attractiveness. But precisely because it is so attractive and so seductive, because of that simplicity, it's a dangerous path in many ways. Because if you focus only on yourself and eschew all other human contact, all other human relationships, especially relationships that will lead to a family of your own, you will, first of all, go down the wrong path, because there will be no one there to help you stay on the right path. Because a lot of MGTOW say that women are evil and women are bitches and women are whores and blah, blah, blah. But a lot of times, a good, not even a very good wife, but a semi-good wife will make sure that you're eating right, will make sure that you go to the doctor to check that thing that is growing, that lump on your leg or whatever, you know? I mean, they'll take care of you a little bit enough, right? Even when they're lousy wives, right? And the fact of the matter is, when you are completely alone, and this is a truism, and us guys, we know this. When we are completely alone and with nobody else, nobody's company, sure, it's easy and simple. It's a simple life, but we start doing stupid shit. We start living like fucking pigs. We start not paying attention to things that we should be paying attention to in our own bodies, in our own development. We started getting eccentric to the point of a little bit nutty. And we know guys like that. We know guys like that, and guys that we respect. Not some random idiot. No, some guys that we respect that got a little nutty because they were isolated. That isolation is not healthy, because we are social animals. Yes, we are social animals, and to pretend to deny that is just foolish. We are social animals, and we require other people. We require other people in everything, in every aspect of our lives. It is understandable to me to decide to limit that social interaction, to decide that, you know, I'm just going to hold off on women, on the whole romantic shit for a while, for a good long while, 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever, so I can focus on things that are more important to me, or just get my head in straight, or get my business in order, my career on track, whatever. I understand that. Just as I understand, like, for instance, there are times, probably in your life, certainly in my life, where you go out and party every goddamn night because it's fun. You go out and party every goddamn night, and then you get to a point where you're like, oh man, I've just been partying so much, and I've been drinking so much coke and so much weed, and I'm fat and out of shape. And you know something? No more parties for 6 months. I'm going to focus on getting healthy, getting back in shape, because this party life, you know, the vida loca was great for a while, but it's wearing me down, you know? I understand that, okay? I understand. I am not unsympathetic. I want to make this clear. But MGTOW for life, just like any extreme for life, is a horrible idea. Now, I have no doubt that a lot of people who are watching this video, who are MGTOW, are going to basically say that because of this video, they're going to unsubscribe from my channel. That's perfectly fine. I mean, you're free to do whatever you want. You know, it's a free country. Well, kind of free. But, you know, those of you who are more sensible, those of you who are more fair-minded, I hope you listen to what I'm saying and understand that I'm not shitting on MGTOW. I am not shitting on young men who decide to go MGTOW. On the contrary, I think that in a lot of times, with a lot of young men especially, there are times that are critical where you should go MGTOW. What I'm saying is, do it in moderation. Understand what you are doing. Don't simply make a lifelong decision without thinking through the consequences. Don't take a path that for a time might be very beneficial, but might reach a point where it is no longer beneficial and where you should get off of that path. A lot of guys, it happens to a lot of guys, because I'm a fucking guy, I know this, okay? A lot of times we take a path and we say, I'm gonna fucking do this. I'm gonna go down this road. And it's really great for a while until it stops being beneficial. It stops being beneficial, and because of our pride, because of our sense of like, I don't want to look like I'm weak, or I don't want to look like I'm not, you know, up to it. Or maybe it's because, you know, I don't want to lose the friends I've developed by going down this path. For whatever reason, we decide to continue the path even though we know that it's not the right path for us anymore. It was in the past for a time, but it no longer is now. And that sometimes is a dangerous trap that I certainly have fallen into. And I'm betting you have too, because we're guys and we have the same problems, okay? There isn't a great deal of variation between men, okay? So I know that this probably happens, it might happen to you. Always take a path that is beneficial to you, and always be reevaluating it. You should never be afraid to reevaluate a path you have taken, because it could be that in that reevaluation you discover that it is no longer the path for you. And if it is the right path for you, you can reevaluate it 100 times and it's still going to be the right path. So never fear reevaluation. Never fear taking stock of where you are. Never fear of changing your direction. Okay. Okay, I guess that's all I had to say about the issue.